Hello and welcome to the channel. So we've got a Sound City Concord. This is a really rare amp. You don't see too many of these, and really interesting amp as well. So we've got sliders on here, and it's a couple of knobs missing. I've got those in a bag because it was a bit loose, so I took them off just because of losing them. But I don't think these are the original knobs for these sliders, if I remember. So we've got volume, treble and bass, volume, treble and bass, each channel. Brilliant switch here. You can see we've got another brilliant switch, actually a bright switch on this channel. We've got a little meter there for the output level. And we've got the reverb volume here, mains and standby, power, pilot light, looks like. We've got a standby light on there, but that's obviously loose, so we've got to look at that. And this amp's in for just a full service really. So right, so we're looking at the back, and you can see we've got a sensitivity switch there, so we'll have to have a look what that does. Fuses there, we've got the old-fashioned voltage selector there, and looks like the impedance, I'm not quite sure what's happened to that, so maybe that's been hardwired. We'll have to have a look at that when we get inside it there. You can see the speakers there in the back, but we can't see, you can just see the labels, but we can't see much more till we get the full back off here, till we get all of this off. And we've got this here, I presume that's for the reverb, that box that's built in the top there. Now one thing I did notice on this amp is the handle is not particularly great, very stingy with that, weren't they? So because this amp is quite weighty, so but if we go round to the sides, we've got side handles. I can't remember whether those were as standard on them. I'll have to do a bit of research online. Let's get this back off and we'll have a look inside at the tubes. Right, so we're looking inside and we can see a few cobwebs in there. And yes, and that's extremely mucky in there, so we're going to have to clean that out. Definitely. Is that the original output transformer? Maybe. So we'll have to have a look at that as well. I think it is, yeah, I'm just looking at the bolts on this one. Probably is. We've got some Brymer tubes in the back there. Got one that looks a bit crooked. Brymer, I don't know whether that one might be a Mazda. No, I think that is a Brymer. Yeah, it's a Brymer, yeah. And we've got one there with a tube shield on it. You can just see in the back there. I'm not going to take those out till I get the chassis out because I'm banging them on the top. Yes, that's all. Where are the speakers wired up to inside? Looks like it. Or is that the reverb in there? What is that lot there? What is all this? Let's get this other back off as well, this bottom part. Well, I'm just looking inside there and I've got all this spaghetti. I've got what's going on here. My word, that's some cable, that is. That all been put on from the factory. So the reverb tank is in here with this hardboard and this foam. But look at the cobwebs in here, man. Look at this. Try and hold that with me like there while we get in. You see how they've moulded these, bent these over there on these, got these curves in there, look, you see that? Great how they've done that. And we've got those speakers now, we can get a much better look at those. I wonder who made those. I shall have to do a little bit of research. Made exclusively for Dallas Arbiter Limited, London. Yes. My days. So we've got some cleaning to do on this one as well as servicing. I think we'd better look at getting the chassis out. I think, sorry if this is all a bit shaky because I'm trying to hold this board with me leg and film at the same time. Well, I've just found those in there, and those look like nutshells. So what's that? Another one. So maybe we had a squirrel living in here at some time or something. I don't know. Not quite sure why they would be there. The remnants of a spider there that's long expired. Just looking as well here, looks like the cabinet's split over time. Maybe somebody's put the bigger screw in at one time. I noticed a lot of the screws don't bite on the back, so yes, we'll have to have a look at that as well. Right, I've just managed to get this out. By gum. So these are the fixing screws, which are just rusted. So it's obviously been in a shed or somewhere where it's been damp in a garage somewhere. So they took some getting out. There's another one in the other ones with the cabinet. What am I looking at here? So all these 3 wires were threaded through the top shelf on here, so I've had to cut them. Obviously cut the speaker off. I've had to cut the reverbs off as well, otherwise can't get the amp out. This is the speaker lead, which is screen wire. I'm not quite sure why. And the length, just look at the length of them. So yeah, that's all got to be sorted out. This amp's got a lot of dust in it. There's the other socket, there's the other screw. So let's have a look at these output tubes. And that's just some nondescript EL34. A little bit of carbon on there maybe. Let's have a look at that. Clean those up. Yeah, so probably a matching pair at some time. Been in there years. Let's have a look under the can. Is that another primer? Yeah, all the preamp tubes are primers. So they're probably the original preamp tubes in this. We'll have to test those. So now you can see as well this amp cradle. This is the as I mentioned in the last video, this is a gift from John, and John actually made me this cradle, amp cradle. Oops. And I'm really grateful to him. This is going to be a great help when I'm repairing the amps. So we're going to have just a quick look at how this actually works in a moment. But what I'm trying to work out is how to get this rather long chassis fitted into here without damaging that front panel. This is not an easy amp to tip upside down, and just because we don't want to be damaging any of this front panel here. Right, so that I've managed to get that in the cradle quite well. Just got the front there just overlapping on there, but it's fine. It's just gone in without too much of ado. So basically this amp cradle works. We've got an adjustment there, and it will extend out to the longest of chassis. It's excellent, and I'm really grateful to John for making me this. Really good of him. So thanks, John. Now let's look in this amp. I'm going to put the macro lens on so we can have a bit of a look round in it. This amp needs a lot of work doing to it. I mean, there's it, you know, just to clean it up, we need to get all that dust and fluff off the top there. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's some foam that's been wedged in there as well we need to look at. Not great. So let's start looking at these caps. Well, we can look down at this one first of all, and we can see that one's all over. There's gentian pouring out of him there. So I'm afraid that means we won't be firing this amp up with that, being as bad as it is. That one may that one, yeah, that's the original one. That one looks okay, I suppose. Got like some shrink tubing around it, that one. So I don't know. There's something hiding under there we don't want to see. Don't know. A couple of diodes there, we'll change those. 4 diodes, in fact. Look, it's a bridge rectifier. And then we've got a cap there, lowly on it. That's the bias. So there must be an individual winding on the transformer for that, I would have thought. We'll also look at that. What's wrong with this wire? Nothing. Just a bit of lacquer on it. I think we better have some can caps in it. That one definitely. Whilst that one looks okay, how much longer is it going to be before it pops? So look at these bypass caps. I'll have to test those. These will probably be alright. These mustard caps usually hold up pretty well. These are Spragues, these orange ones here. And if we go over here to this capacitor here, my word, that's bulged. It's also loose as well. That's the one that was loose, but look how bulged that is. He's all over, and that's another reason not to fire this amp up. The ground's gone as well, look. Look, here's no ground on it. That's broken off at some point. And if we look at this cable, see how it's twisted. It looks very much to me like, and you can see again, this is what I mean about the people tie these knots. You can see here, people will tie these knots in, and of course it stops it pulling out but not pushing in, and of course over the years that's snapped off the ground. That is, and there's another wire snapped off there as well. I'm not sure where that goes. We'll have to have a look. How dangerous is that? And this is why this is dangerous, you know, just tying a knot in something like that. Screen resistor. So if we go in there and have a look at him, you can see, can you see the it's like a bit of a hole in him where he's been burnt. Now I have got a list of things that are wrong with this amp, but before we even get round to that, obviously we've got quite a bit of cleaning up to do. We need to see what state those sliders are in on the front here as well, see how well they're operating. And we also need to find a way of fastening that pilot light into there, because the tabs are broken off it by the looks of it. So that one is also a problem. We can't leave that like that. That's a safety issue as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these caps, and then we're going to fire this amp up and see where we are. All these three electrolytics, they have got to go. That one obviously, that one definitely, and that one we might as well while we're doing the others. Right, just looking over the top, but you can see what we've got here. Let's have a look. So you can see we've got a lot of either dog hair or cat hair in here, as well as the dust. So I've looked at the schematic, and we'll have a look at that in a while. So we've got 12AX7, 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 12AT7 or ECC81, and 12AX7 ECC83s. These using the European. That transformer is original, just for a minute when I looked at it, but it is different on some of the other models I've seen photographs online. Caps, couple of hundreds at 350 working in series, but I'm just going to put 100 at 500 volts working in here, just remove one of them. And then we've got 32 down here, which we're going to change as well, and then we'll be able to fire it up. But it's had a bit of a rough life, this one. Also, if we come down, you can see there's some damage there on the cabinet at some time where it's been, maybe while it's been put into the cabinet, or don't know, but there's a bit of damage there, nothing major. Very grimy inside here. Look inside there, it's very grimy in there as well. And of course these slider controls will be a cause for concern, because these apparently you can't really get them, so if they're damaged we could be in a bit of bother with those. Yep. And as I say, we've already seen this pilot light thing here. Main switch is loose, nothing major. This foam here, which is badly corroded, it's also a bit of a fire risk, don't like that there, so we'll have rid of that as well. Let's go back up again. So we'll test all the tubes as well, just to see if all the tubes are good, if we've got any problems there. So I've got the few notes from the customer. So left hand channel, no reverb, and I think that says 0 volume. And then right hand channel, reverb okay. Can't read what that says, but pops. It pops a lot when warm, so we've got problems there. Change any valves that need doing. Well, I don't think that not often we have to replace valves, is it? So tubes. So let's check these tubes and just see what shape they're in. Right, so we've got the first one in there. Let's have a look at him. Still going up. He's a little bit tired, but there's still some life in him. Let's try the other side. Oh, just, yeah, there's a bit of life in. He is a bit tired, but there's a bit of life in him. You'd like to see him around about 70, 75, but he has got a bit of life left in him. Let's try the next one. He's okay. Very good, that one. Yeah, nothing wrong with him. He's in fine fettle. Well, as regards emissions and so on, and no shorts, but obviously we don't know how microphonic they'll be till we get it up and running. Next one. Yep, he's looking good. Yeah, he's not bad. And of course, when they've been baking in the amp, they'll go up a bit more. So let's try the other half. Yep, he's okay. Let's try this 12A-T7. Just the socket's a bit tired. Yeah, he's a belter. And him, yes, nothing wrong with him. So just this last one of the preamp tubes now, we'll hone in on him. Ooh, he looks a bit tired. More life in a junior Disprin. Yes, so I think he is all over. And yet the other triode's pretty good. So yes, so that could well be one of the problems of one channel not working correctly. We'll pop that back into where it was so we don't get that wrong. But yeah, I mean, so we've got the output tubes to test yet, but we've got one preamp tube that's a bit tired but okay, and then we've got another tube that has just one triode is gone. That's all over, but that's no big deal. And for that we'll require the book. It's a while since I've tested any 34s. Well, it seems a while, maybe not, but let's see. EL34s 71 test is 8 on there. So let's hone in. Again, bring it up to the camera. It's easier just to bring this one up to the camera because it's quite portable. So 71 test is 8. Let's go, see what we've got. Don't seem to have anything on there at the minute. Let's even see if that's lit. Oh, it's lit. 71 test is 8. Oh, it's going up now. There we go, so you can see that. Took a while to warm up, but there's nothing wrong with him as regards emissions. Nearly 80 on there, and we've got no shorts on him, so he's a result. So he doesn't need changing. And I'm not one just for changing tubes for the sake of it. These things are expensive now, so there we go. They are not cheap to buy, especially if you want something other than JJ's. And if there's plenty of gumption left in these tubes, then, well, they need using. And that one's fine as well. Going up, along as, of course, the other thing is how well matched they are. That one doesn't quite seem to have the emission of the other one, but it's not far off. But yes, it is lacking a little. So they may be unmatched. Now the question is how far are they unmatched? If they're only 1.5 watts, probably up to 2 watts, then I'm inclined to leave them and get the usage out of them. If they're any more than that, then so far pretty good news on the tubes so far. Just one tube that does need replacing, but we can find something to go in there. I'm sure we can. Get this thing cleaned up now and get all this dust and cat hair, dog hair, whatever it is, and all this fluff and stuff, this foam here, which is obviously being put on to stop this rattling here, I would guess. But we need to find something better than that. That is not good. The problem I have with that is, should this transformer burn up, if it catches fire, you've just got this here and this foam, and it goes all the way down there. You know, you've got potential for that to catch fire as well. There we go. Well, that was a bit of a long job cleaning that out, but we've got all the gunk, all the gunk out of there. This is like grey or white cat hairs. Not sure what they're about. There's another one of them. Keep appearing. And that faulty tube there, I put all the other tubes out down there, and I put that faulty one, I just like sat it on here while I was hoovering. I accidentally sucked it up the hoover, but it's no good anyway, so it doesn't matter. It was going in the bin, so it's gone in the bin anyway. We'll find a replacement for that one. That was the one with the dead triode. We might even have a Brymer 12AX7 somewhere. I'm not sure. Got some tubes up here that I'll have a look. What's that one? couple of mullards there. We might stick one of those in. Some of the mullards I find are microphonic though. Great tubes, but great sounding tubes, but often microphonic. But we can always swap it for something further down the line, phase inverter or something. But yes, there we go. That's cleaned it out. So I think the next job for this now is replacing these capacitors, and then I'm going to fire this amp up, and then we're going to assess it further and see what else it wants doing to it. And I think that will be part 1 of this video, and then part 2 will be sorting out all the other problems, and that includes all those cables, these wires and things here, which I'm sure are not original. Now I've just looked on the transformer. If we've got this grommet in the back, which it appears to look like the voltage selector's being changed, but on closer inspection it appears there's only one secondary winding on this transformer, on this power transformer here. So it looks very much like that there's only one winding. So I've looked at some pictures online, and some of them have got this black grommet in, and then I found one that hadn't. So I think that's from the factory, that black grommet. What we'll do is we'll go and measure the impedance of the speakers, and that'll tell us what impedance this transformer is, being as the speakers are original, assuming they're wired up original, of course. If not, if I'm not happy with that, then I'll have to do a turns ratio test on it just to see what the impedance is. But we'll have a look at those wires on the speakers, because they do look a bit botched up. I've cleaned the cabinet out as well, by the way, so that's been cleaned. Right, let's have a look here then. We'll start with these two caps. These are 200 microfarad each, and you can see we've got the bridge rectifier there coming off. We're going to change these as well. They've been in there a good 50 years, so we'll change those. We've got these 220k resistors, which are balancing resistors, but we don't need those because we're just going to put in one. We're just going to put in 100 microfarad in here, because these two wired in series make 100 microfarads at a 700 volts. So I'm going to put 100 in at 500 volts, because this amp won't have 500 volts on it. The other cap, the bulged out one there on that side, is only rated for 450 anyway. So that's the first thing. We'll change these and change these two caps, and we'll just have one cap. So we've got this wire here, which we're not sure where that's going. That looks like that's going off to the standby switch over there, and indeed it is, I think. Well, let's have a look on the schematic, but we need to get these changed most definitely. So we've got ground, got that there, yeah, that's in series, that's good. So we'll remove this one, just have one here, and that'll be fine. So we're inside this Sound City again now, to show you what we've done. So remove those small diodes from there that were soldered onto there, and we've replaced it with this bridge rectifier here. There was already a hole in the chassis, so I thought we'll make use of that. We've got a lock nut on there and a star washer on the bottom. So he's bolted to the chassis. He is 6 amps at 1000 volts, so I think he'll be okay for this job. So we've got him, and then we've wired the ground into here. We've got a fresh ground point. We've got the ground for this capacitor wired into there. We've got the capacitor on with new M4 bolts, star washers, we've wired to the fuse, you just about see there, and just putting the light on. So wired to the fuse there. Just put some insulation on. It's a bit close for comfort. So is the power fuse as well. The power fuse. What else? And we just soldered that up really. Got that in, and we're ready to roll. So the next thing we're going to look at, well, we've got the bias capacitor to do as well while we're in this corner, and probably a new resistor that's been in there 50 years. A resistor, hark at me. Diode, it's a diode, not a resistor, so we'll probably just change that diode as well, and obviously we're going to change that capacitor. We've got a couple of caps here, 4 microfarad, I can't get my words out today, 4 microfarad at 350 volts working. We've got another one down here. Now I've ordered those, I've ordered some 4.7s because you can't get 4s anymore. So 4.7, so those are on order. Should be here this week. Now we're going to concentrate on this capacitor here, which you can see is extremely bulged. So we're going to remove him. We've got the power supply schematic here. You can see, well, you would, it's upside down. Dear oh dear, it's one of those Mondays. We've got the shadow of the camera, so I've just removed that so we can have a bit of a look. This is quite a nice schematic actually. Someone's drawn this out. So recent, well, I say recent, it's certainly in the last, probably the last 10-15 years. So you can see we've got volts coming in there. We've got the 100 microfarad there with 63 volts. That's the bias feed. There's the bias diode. So if we look, the power's coming in. Here's our bridge. Ooh, that's me. I've not got the amp cradle in here. The Masco's on that at the moment. So we've got the bridge rectifier here. We've got two 220k resistors balancing these two 200 microfarads at 350 volts, but we've just got 100 microfarad now at 500 volts, so we don't need those. Going in here, we've got the indicator, and then we're going on down this line through the standby switch, going on down this line, and you can see here we've got 15k resistor dropping, going down onto this 32k, and then there's a 22k there and another 32 microfarad there. That 22k resistor is, if we just swing the light back round, is there on the, actually on the capacitor itself. It's a little bit dark in there, but you can see that. So we've got here, this is the full schematic, which is also upside down. Duh. Because I'm looking through the camera and I can see it, but not clearly. It's a small window. So we've got the power supply drawn on there, and you see what I've done is just blown this up in sections and enlarged it in sections. There's the tone stack there, and here we've got the whole amplifier there going through. So if we look on here, B that we've got there, B is coming out, coming on to, let's get the bigger one as well. I can't see that. Upside down as well. There we go. We should be able to see that. And there's B coming in there, look, along that rail. B goes up here and is feeding those two 1Ks for the screens. And also if we look down, go down here, we can see that there it goes off to the output transformer. That's the center tap there, on there, if you can see that clearly enough on there. Remember when I said this was loose, and you can see it is, and probably the reason for that is that you can't get in to tighten up the bracket. So it looks like somebody's put this on here at the factory, because this has never been touched, and then realised they couldn't get that, or they hadn't got that bolt tight enough on the bracket, that nut bolt, and so they just put it in and left it. So the only way to get the new cap in here and get it tight is to take off these two bolts. You can't just turn it over, because this is the distance between this and the cap is only about that much, so obviously not going to get a screwdriver in there, so we'll have to take the whole thing out, but that's no big deal. And there we go, we've got him out, and he is 3232 at 450 volts. He is a Sprague, a very bulgy looking Sprague, look at that. He was about ready to let go, so just got him out in time. That could have made a right mess, that could. Right, let's fit the new one, and here is the new one that we're going to put in. 3232 at 500 volts. I've took the bracket off for the capacitor, and the adjustment screw to put the cap in and tighten it up is seized, because this amp has been in a damp environment at some time. So we're just waiting for that the oil to do its magic. So I thought I'd focus on this power cable and have a bit of a look at this. So the wires go through and go onto this chassis. There's the ground. Remember, the ground had ripped off, so we need to put a proper ground in there. But another safety issue I have with this amp is that this is a separate chassis from this. It's bolted on with 4 bolts, and separate chassis should also have a earth ground on them. So this cable then goes through onto this power switch here. So I'm just going to cut these here. Yeah, because we're going to have to cut past this knot. So we'll cut the knot there. Just leave that. We'll cut the knot off like so, and pull off the outer plastic, and we'll just pull those through so we know where they go. When they're pretty elementary really, because they just go on the switch, don't they? But so now he can come out. Now if we look down here, we need to put something decent on there that's going to hold this securely. The grommet is not good enough. Let's see what we've got. There we go, there's the said item that we're going to use for the power cable, and that will be a result. I'm just going to check that power cable from end to end now, make sure there's no rips in it. Got this on the test bench, and we'll just have a look at some of the stuff we've done. Done quite a bit to this amp. So we've got the bias cap in there now, and the new diode. You've seen the rectifier already. If we go over here, we've got the cap there now in. We've also got the cable, the power cable coming in here, which we've just tucked down the side so it's not dangling over that resistor. Got the 22k going in there. We've rewired up the neon light, and we've got a spare ground which eventually is going to be fastened onto this front chassis. So we're all ready to fire up, and that's what we're going to do now. So we've got a meter there for the HT, and I've got a meter up on this shelf here, so just zoom up there, and that one's monitoring the bias, and then the other one I'm just going to use for taking measurements down the nodes, and we're off. So that's quite a low voltage we're putting through that at the minute now, and if we look, this doesn't light up till we're getting 40 volts through the amp. So but we're going to go steady with these caps and make sure that we've got no shorts anywhere. So we'll go on to another bulb. I've got 30 watts and we've got 54 volts going into it, 55 and climbing. Drawing 90 milliamps off the wall, which is nothing. And we've got negative 12 on the bias. If we just look up there, you can see negative 12. So all good. 160 volts. Let's try an input. Not got anything yet. Let's go up to a bigger bulb. So we've got a 15 and a 40 now. Bulbs are getting dim. That gives us 55 watts current limiting. So now we'll build a bit more voltage up on the capacitors. Things are looking good. 130 milliamps we're drawing now. But still no sound. Oh, yes we have. Yes, we have sound. So we're away. That's good. So I've got, perhaps just about hear it now. I've got the signal generator going through it. Right, we'll go up to 80 watts on the bulbs now. That should zoop it up. Not a lot of output coming out of there, is there? Oh, that one. These sliders are not great at all. So not a lot of gain coming out of this amp at the minute. I've got 100 watts. That should go up a bit more. And is. So not a lot of gain out of this amp. Negative 22 on the bias. These sliders are not well. Try the other channel again. Oh yes, that's so that channel's working. The other one isn't. My word, that is working. Well, am I missing something here? Wow. Well, the bass is turning up. What is going on there? Not quite sure what's happening here. Oh, that's the reverb volume, that one. There we go. So when that slider on that volume is on the stop, it won't work. And it's barely working now, so we've got problems there. Now let's go to the other channel, and that channel's really quiet, so we've got trouble there. But at least with this channel kind of works. Right, let's so we've got 100. Let's go to 160 watts now. Negative 27 on the bias. So the bias is healthy, we know that's good. Let's just just put the dummy load on there now so we haven't got that noise going on. So yes, we've got some real issues here. Yep, that doesn't look very healthy at all, does it? We've got 200 watts of current limiting now. And we've got 179 volts going into it, 380 milliamps. 311 volts. Let's flick off the current limiter. 430, 429 we've got on there. 441. So we just need to check that voltage when we first switch on. I don't think it'll go above 500, but we just need to check it. Back onto the speaker. Ooh. Wow. A very microphonic tube. And some very frying plate resistors by the sound of that. Wow. But at least we've got the power supply part working. Let's just switch off onto standby. At least we've got the power supply part working on it, so that's good. So the main caps are done. So the next part of this, and that is going to be in part 2. I'm going to make this a part 1. So part 2, we're going to tackle the preamp section on this amp. We've got all this front panel to sort out on this amp. It is incredibly noisy. A lot of work still to do on this amp. There's a lot of problems. One channel doesn't work at all. So we've got to find out why that is. And yes, a lot of work, a lot of frying and doing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to see what hits that cap when I switch on. So we've been, before we say good night, just take the current limiter off. 465, 67. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, absolutely fine with that. So that single 500 volt 100 microfarad cap is absolutely fine. So the power supply section on this now is all working fine, but there is still a lot of work to do. So that's going to do it for this one. So I can't, I mean, I would have plugged the guitar in it and we could have had a bit of a blast, but it's in such a state, I can't even do that. But never mind, we'll get there in part 2. So thanks for watching, and you all take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.